I would like to take another 5 minutes. Trust me, this is not a spiel or anything, but it's just our way of educating more people about understanding why local. Because of late, I've seen that a lot of people think and kind of know to some extent that local is good for you, natural is good for you. But how many of us truly know why it's good for us, right? So we thought before we actually start talking about how to make use of local and natural for Christmas, I think it's important to know why local matters so much. There is a blog that actually talks about exactly this on grubbable.com. You'll again find the link right here. But I'd like to take this opportunity to kind of just quickly go over why local matters. So with local, the USDA calls anything that qualifies as local as something that has traveled not farther than 400 miles. So it's food that's raised within 400 miles. But even that is like the top limit, because most of the time it's basically urban farmers, neighborhood farmers, CSA, co-ops. It's basically food that's grown in your neighborhood and it's sold, like it's picked the day before and it's sold to you the next day at the farmer's market, and it's on your plates by that afternoon, hopefully. So basically it doesn't get closer from farm to table than that. It's picked at its freshest of its nutrition. That's right. Marella, am I right about that?
Yes, and with that, like you said, local at the top bracket is 400 miles away. So, I mean, the quicker that the food is picked off of the vine and that you get it on your table, the more nutrients it's going to have, the more vitamins it's going to have, you know, the denser it's going to be in nutrients, so it's a healthier product that you're getting, and obviously fresher.
Yeah, and I also read that on an average, USDA actually gave this data that food travels, you know, for the past 100 years, food has been traveling 1,300 miles an average before it reaches our table. So can you imagine how much adulteration and contamination food is exposed to if it's traveling 1,300 miles before it gets to us?
I prefer not to think about that.
I know, right?
Which is why I go to Eastern Market.
I know. I'm so sorry. No, we don't mean to scare anybody. Sorry, Mary?
Oh, I just feel like that shouldn't have to be necessary to happen.
Yeah, and that's one way of correcting it. And there are enough avenues today. There are farmers markets, there are apps like Grubbable that connect you to resources that provide locally sourced food. So we shouldn't have to deal with that anymore. Apart from distance, I think we forget there's another quality about local food and organic food or natural food. We don't want to use the word organic because sometimes farmers have to be certified organic, but there are many farmers without the certification that actually do completely organic practices. They just don't have the money or they're not able to afford the certification, which is why we use the terms natural or sustainable. It's actually food with integrity. That's the term we use here at Grubbable. It's eating with purpose. It's basically recognizing the fact that there's so much integrity with our farmers and artisans who actually believe in doing things right. It's easier, trust me, it's easier for them to cut corners and use pesticides and chemicals because it's actually expensive for them to do, to go the whole 9 yards and actually do it right. So it's with this, we're really recognizing and encouraging local farms who don't mind taking on the additional cost as long as they provide product of quality, which doesn't have, chemicals that could affect our body, that could affect the soil. And once the soil is contaminated, it takes a long time to reverse, the adverse effects that the soil has gone through. So I don't think we'd always talk about air pollution, water pollution. I think soil pollution is something that's always forgotten about. And another thing is, local food movement is really all about the community. With this, we are trying to really encourage local restaurants that are not chains, national chains. These are all local restaurants that came out of people living in the area who wanted to, build a restaurant that provided really good quality food. So we are trying to support local businesses, local restaurants, local farms, artisans. And by doing this, what happens is the dollars remain local. So it helps the local economy. Ever since the local food movement came into Detroit, the Detroit economy has improved so much. I don't think enough is said about that, right? We always talk about manufacturing and so many other things. The food industry is forgotten. And the last thing that really matters, and again, some people who are listening to this might think that this is a stretch, but trust me, it's not. Why local and organic or natural matter is because the environment matters, right? This is so much greener. It's doing all things right. It's really trying to reverse all the adverse effects that's happened in our food industry for the past 100 years, and we are now trying to make things right. It's not too late. It's never too late to make things right. So that kind of hope that explains why local is so important and why natural and sustainable food is so important. And I know local and sustainable is always associated with expensive, which is why with companies like Grubbable and so many of our restaurant partners, our farmers, so many of our other partners like Meat and Crate and Bundle, these are all guys who believe in, Michigan made or Midwest made or Chicago made, and they actually give out discounts so that more people come and buy their stuff, buy and appreciate the local aspect of our living. And so in our own way, we're trying to make local accessible and affordable. Okay. Anything else to add, guys?
So I'm going to chime in here and say that was awesome. 4 minutes of Sahana there. I mean, you can really tell how passionate she is about Grubbable and just local and sustainable foods in general. So I had to sit back and take it all in and listen too. Yeah, I mean, everything you said is dead on, of course. Like you said, you can find it in the blog on grubbable.com if you want to have a little bit more information about it. But you pretty much covered all the bases there. And like you said, too, it is cost effective. I think in this day and age, it's probably equally as easy to go down to Eastern Market or like a local market, like for instance in Royal Oak, and get your fruits and vegetables there than it is to say go to one of your larger mainstream grocery stores too.
Yeah, actually that is true.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry, guys. That was the last time I'm going to go on this long spiel.
No, we love it. I love it.
You said that a lot of people might not believe or buy into the fact that it helps the environment, but actually it's been shown that the number one thing that one individual person can do to help the environment is change how they eat. And part of that is eating less meat, but also just eating meat that is sourced from local places that are grass-fed and sustainably managed and things like that, and eating more local produce and things like that. So actually it is a really big impact on the environment.
So I'm sorry. So Myra, I have a quick question for you. So what does your local food scene look like in Chicago? I mean, like Mary, Sahana, and myself, we all live in, in the greater Detroit area, all traveling down to Eastern Market. Do you have something like that in your area?
Sure. So the local food movement is actually really taking off here in Chicago, especially like in the part of Chicago where I live. You can just walk down the street and a lot of people are advertising themselves as farm to table. There are a ton of, even just in like the coffee shops, there are a ton of like local coffee roasteries, a lot of local breweries. Everyone's really excited about it. And I think the really exciting thing about Grubbable being located in the Midwest is that there are these urban centers, but there are farms everywhere around. And so even the people that aren't actively seeking to grow the local food movement are already participating in it because they're already sourcing from farms that are right in their backyards, which is really exciting because it's already what they're doing. And if you just get them on board to the messaging as well, then we're all in this together already kind of.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's so encouraging, right? And Chicago being such a big city, and it could be like the flag bearer for all of Midwest. If that becomes like a local food capital of United States, it'll be wonderful. We'll get there, I'm sure, because the local food movement is growing at the speed of light, and a lot of people out there are realizing the importance of